Hello, friends, and welcome back. See, the sirens started right up along with my video, which is a perfect introduction. In fact, I think I should do an intro with just sirens blaring and be like, welcome to Carpa's channel. It's kind of a side joke. I'm sure many of you understand. So, here I am on my back porch. It's pretty darn cold, in the lower 30s, around freezing, hovering here. It's evening now, and I've got my my homemade poncho on, which is made with Pendleton wool, and I believe this is a Navajo pattern. Don't quote me, I'm not sure. I may be mistaken, but a friend that worked for Pendleton wool, he told me they would throw away these ones that were imperfect or weren't sewn right, and so it was just a piece of cloth thrown in the bin, and he kind of nabbed it. They're not supposed to take them, they destroy them. So anyway, he got me this piece. It wasn't quite combed yet, still has like a tag on it and everything, which is like sewn or like ironed onto it because it was going to be cut off. But I just cut a hole in it, turned it into this. Anyway, the point being that I'm wearing this wool thing over my hoodie, and I'm still cold because it's cold out. It's been cold out, and burr. So she doesn't care. Lucy doesn't care at all. She stays warm no matter what. But, you know, she pays the price in the summer. So I'm out here thinking about typical things that I always do: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and asking myself the question of, I guess, not what are people willing to sacrifice for freedom. It brings back that old quote: if you're willing to sacrifice If you're willing to sacrifice freedom for liberty or truth, you deserve neither. God damn it. I don't even remember the quote. Just popped into my head. Somebody can post it for me in there. The idea that you should never give up your basic speech, your basic freedoms, your basic true nature of who you are and what you believe. That's like one of these, if there is such thing as a, quote, God-given right, which you could argue existentially and philosophically for years, if not decades, about whether or not there are universal laws or God's laws. It doesn't really matter what you believe. Most humans, in order to survive and cooperate, have agreed on certain principles, such as thou shalt not kill without reason, thou shalt not, steal from another or harm another unless they have good reason to protect themselves. And we break these laws consistently, but we do agree upon some of them. Now, these basic laws are being, say, broken consistently. But something I've noticed, and everyone else has, I'm sure too, is that most humans will justify certain behaviors from those they love. For example, if somebody in their own family or a good friend is showing behaviors that in somebody else they might be like, oh, this person needs to be locked away. If it's somebody in their family, they become very protective and say, no, this is somebody that I love. This is different. And this would be very similar to the way we might defend a country attacking another country if we support that country. And if a different event happens that's similar, but from the opposite, we don't like the country who's attacking, then all of a sudden we have a different opinion on it. These are human traits, and part of the archetype of, let's see, what archetype would we be into here? I'd never really thought about it that way yet, metaphorically, but there definitely is I don't know. There's something to be said about taking the side of somebody that you some sort of a bias. It'd be more like a fallacy, a confirmation bias of some sort, where you almost, like identifying with your captor, Stockholm syndrome, that kind of thing. But what if your captor is an idea and not a person or a group of people? So Stockholm syndrome to me is, just basically, sympathizing with anything that holds you captive in some way. So an idea that could be held by a group of people you've never met could be something that you're held captive by because it captivates you in some way. It makes you feel like you're part of it. Like, say, many social justice movements that end up being bogus or just about the money. Things that aren't really going to change anything or don't really intend to. And there have been many. But then there are many that actually just intend to give equal voice or rights to people who have been marginalized. And telling the difference between the two can be ludicrous. And if you dare distinguish between the two, this is where things get murky and where the main part of my discussion and the point of my entire video here comes in, which is, how difficult is it to think for yourself? How hard is it, really, to be an independent thinker in today's world? And if you don't think that it's difficult, then you're not independent enough. No, that's not the right wording. Then you may not be as independent as you think. Here's the thing: if you don't disagree with everybody on something, then you might not be looking at every situation correctly. That's my opinion. That's a very vague way and very, I guess, belligerent way, because of course that's absurd, to make a claim like that, which I can't prove. But every friend you have, every family member you have, everybody you've ever met, there should be at least one thing you disagree with them on. And generally we know this to be true. Not only that, but you should also be able to voice your disagreement with every single one of these people. And this is where people have a hard time. People have no problem having a different opinion than those they love and know. But to voice it, you're going to sound like the insensitive jerk. Or worse. I mean, I have friends who are liberals and friends who are conservatives. But generally, most people are very moderate. All the people I know, they're not locked into some obsession. But I do know people who I would consider far left and far right, which not in a way that defines them as like violent people, just people who really feel strongly about politics. That's my definition. And I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other myself. I lean left, obviously. I'm liberal-minded, and I definitely believe in, I'm libertarian style, but old-school liberal, really. But I don't like to define it under that umbrella. I don't agree with what any party is doing with those ideas. I just believe in, hey, we need some basic government to take care of shit. Just defend our country, protect the borders from, any firepower or anybody who wants to send missiles over here. Have a basic arsenal to defend ourselves, a basic military to protect ourselves, and then leave the rest of the world alone and let it do what it does. And the amount of money and time and resources that we've spent overseas doing things elsewhere, it's not worth the return. Even the places that we've dominated, we don't get all the resources. They go to the companies that lobbied Congress in order to go to these wars. I mean, just looking at what happened in the Middle East and Iraq, it's ludicrous that, all Americans, at least vast majority of Americans, are well aware now that we went in there on false pretenses and they never had weapons of mass destruction, and that the leaks and the so-called evidence that we had came from one guy that the U.S. had basically scripted to say what they wanted him to say, that had never actually had access to anything he claimed to. The whole thing was a facade, and yet Americans still believe their government, and this is where it gets really fucked up. Because Americans still believe the bullshit, even though they've been through this over and over and over. that they still have faith in politics. I feel I have a extremely ambivalent. Part of me says, yeah, go out and vote, try to make a difference. And then part of me knows that it doesn't fucking matter, that even doesn't matter who wins. It's not that you can't sway an election with voting. It just means that it doesn't really fucking matter, because the types of people who get in there can't make any real difference, even if they have intentions, because of the way the system's set up. Therefore, we as individuals have to. And when you start thinking for yourself, you start being labeled left and right. So, for example, the things I'm talking about, some conspiracy theorist. So somebody who's on the left might tell me, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. You know, you're just believing all the shit you hear on the news, on Fox News, which I've heard several times from people. And I'm like, I don't actually watch Fox News, but it doesn't matter. People, that's where they think you get things. Just like when I mention anything negative about Trump or politics on the right, I get the people who are like, you're just a Trump hater, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And these battles have gone on and on and on and on. But I see them finally coming to a head as people realize that most folks are on the same page. And I pray and I hope that people give a shit about each other enough to stop fighting about dumb shit when we don't acknowledge the big problems we have. Thinking for yourself is great. And the pain that comes with it because you disagree with people can suck. But being honest means that you have to be aware that this is an amazing fucking country to live in, the United States of America. We have a ton of problems, and the economy's gonna be fucked if we allow, you know, a continuation of the way that things have been going with our economy. After 2008, everything fell apart, and we're going to have to deal with, you know, a crashing economy over time and losing that kind of top dog status in the world financially, in my opinion, and I might be wrong. But we didn't have to, and we don't have to. Americans have to be more empowered to speak up and not think that they have to be politically affiliated with any group in order to stand up against corruption. They've convinced people that anybody who really stands up against corruption is some sort of an enemy. You know, even if they're spreading information that may be beneficial to the public, you know, whistleblowers, oh no, you know. So, anyway, those are my rambles for the night. You've got muddy paws, girl. Yeah, she does. This husky is precious. I'll be seeing y'all, and take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Over and out.